Hi, I'm Brenda Clues, and I organize and host the Poetry Salons at Urban Gallery on the last Saturday of each month from 3 to 5 p.m. And we had our inaugural kickoff salon August 26th. And I had two fantastic features, Mirolla and Claudio Gaudio, and you can check the in the info below to see their background and their bios. This is a video review of their reading. So I'm going to begin with Mirolla, and I purchased this book at the Guernica poetry launch, where it was launched, and read it and was just absolutely taken into the depth of understanding is quite phenomenal. It is a book about his parents, their marriage of 4 decades, their deaths, his feelings about them. It's not so much stories of his childhood growing up, but it is a book of memory and time. So he read some poems from this book, and let me get started. Mirolla is a poet of remembrances, memory, relationship, catching glimpses of the past and interweaving them into a rich offering of metaphor, myth, art, culture, and the greatest paradox of all, death. The book opens with a dying star system in chorales. It's a peek at ancient dying stars. In chorales and finales. It's like an operatic poem. It's a poem of the craggy earth, of the rich humus of the earth, the fertile soil, like an underground cave system, of metaphors, of orchards, of the, quote, snapping of a million-year bond, quote, fast receding sky. And I thought that was a good place to start with Michael, although he didn't actually read that poem at the salon. So this book is really a meditation on death. I mean, it's a book about love, about his mother and father, and his feelings about them, and the loss of them and their endings. It's a book of love for life, and yet the vacuous future pushes up against the poet's vision. But it's not a minimalist book. It's rather full with rich imagery, a cornucopia of metaphors and adjectives. Do I read? Yeah, so I do want to read one of his poems that he didn't, a section, a part. Just to give you an idea of the kind of rich imagery and the deep, I hate to say wisdom because that sounds so new age, but there is the glance of the philosopher with all his wisdom. The lava flow of images that merge past and present before her eyes, the certainty, speaking about his mother, the certainty of being swallowed up as earth and cobblestone crumble around her. She pays heed to neither son nor husband, to neither offer nor pleading, and though her face may sag, mirrored in a glass-top table, her fingers may ache, pallid and crimped from lack of blood, she sits unperturbed beneath Masseria trellis. She knows that, having stowed the seeds safely under soil, to give them one last hope of remembrance, her task is done. It doesn't matter then that the light appears not quite natural in the slate afternoon, that the air shimmers and the ground quirks, that the birds and squirrels huddle on flimsy limbs as if in prayer. The whole book is a prayer. That the snails retreat into their fractal homes, that the lantern in the window taps out a diminishing code, that the call back through time has lost its way, that the mortar to hold things together is softening. What's left is the vision of a gaunt woman who floats breezily by on a grassy raft, clutching a sail of cerulean tablecloth. Behind her, embryos breaking the earth and a flock of apple blossoms rising to the tree that first gave them life. As the poet blossoms in his language, of his mother, the tree of life, his tree of life. So Mirolla is a poet of deep natural processes of the earth. And, vegetal or plant life and human life are entwined in their metaphors, as you could see. And Mirolla's poems remind me of the object-oriented ontologists for whom everything, including human nature and all intelligences, because, even the snails with their fractal shells have an intelligence, and mechanics and architectures is of the same natural nature as the earth itself. And we'll find that with both writers, we can never be outside of nature. And this nature of which everything is a part is within Mirolla's poems. And of course, the cycles of nature are there, in rich imagery: birth, springtime, maturity, and the dying back into renewal. And time, memory is there, and time, but it's organic time rather than quantum time. And so the poem I'm going to show you the video clip of is to the God of Small Kindnesses, and it's the poem he closes the house on 14th Avenue with. And I had two cameras running. My main camera, unfortunately, it had a clip-on mic, add-on mic, and the mic malfunctioned. So my video of Michael is silent, but I have the clip. And then I was also walking around with a DSLR taking clips so I could have other angles. So what I have to the God of Small Kindness is in 3 fragments. And because it's such a beautiful and profound poem, I want to share it with you. So what I did is the sections, the words that I don't have audio for, I have actually put, written into the videos. Michael Mirolla reads from his poem To the Gods of Small Kindnesses, the last poem in his book House on 14th Avenue.
The world is once again the greenhouse it was always meant to be. They appear standing in the garden at the center of things, side by side, facing the sun. In their hands, a germination of seeds. At their feet, the long-promised roots, sucking greedily at a pellucid skin of water that flows from oracle to oracle.
In the distance, the endgame remnants of brick and mortar held tightly in place by slick gripping vines, a fading memory of previous folly inside, with none to provide testimony.
The ghost images reflect but themselves, bitter fruit drying around a clenched heart. They stand bemused in the garden, earth pulsing around them. The seeds slip from their fingers, cascade into the cool, sheltering caves where Plato has never been, only to burst back into air, hungry shoots tearing skyward through the placeholders that made them human. Marrow, bone, muscle, sinew, cartilage, vessels carrying juices to and fro. Pandora voice boxes, organs of all kinds. And the words that will eventually string out 28 lines of poetry.
On every leaf unfolding for the sun.
Too crenulate with the prize of time's ultimate shedding, the start gate.
When you hear them reading it, it's really worth it, even if it was in fragments. Okay, so now we move on to Claudio Gaudio. And I have Texas, but I hunted high and low for it so that I could show you in this review, but I couldn't find it. I must have lent it to somebody. And in the introduction to the video of his clip at the salon, I do talk about Texas. So if you'd like to hear more about that brilliant novel, do watch the video. Now, by the time Claudio came on, we had realized that one of the mics wasn't working, so I took it off the main camera and just used that camera's mic. So I've got sound for both clips. So I'm going to begin with reading a section of the excerpt from his novel I'll Be that he actually didn't read at the salon, as I began with one of Michael's. So I'm just going to go right into it. I never tire of discovering what I already know. I turned on some music to silence the pair, but by then I couldn't hear myself listening. I envisage things differently now that I'm older, and by that I mean not at all. Someone will tear asunder what I've strung together, but the universe is vast and throws nothing away. It cannot decide what is trivial. So this was like an opening for my for this video review, where these two poems were in tandem: the universe and the stars, and time, and so let me go to number. You should see my notes. So he says in the clip, there are no secrets anymore, just the old ones spun into centuries. A story is a story because it's told later. The worst is behind us and still to come. Clearly in Gaudio's work, time is a theme. They both, Mirolla and Gaudio, deal with time. Mirolla more organic time. Gaudio does as well, but Gaudio's time is quite a little bit quantum. Because we do find paradoxes. You don't quite know if there are two protons in the box or only one. You know that one of them will decay at some point, but you don't know which one. So yes, definitely Claudio is quantum time. Okay, so he read from his novel in progress, I'll Be, and the title seems, one interpretation of the title is a response to both Descartes and Hamlet. And I mention them because everybody will know who Descartes and Hamlet are. Descartes' famous dictum, I think, therefore I am, served in part, and Gaudio is a philosopher, So we know we will find lots of philosophy in his book. He is more interested in modernist and postmodernist philosophers, but the title is just so classic. Okay, so I think Therefore I Am, which kind of focused on consciousness, it was around the time of Bacon and the scientific method, and the view of nature was shifting radically, in the 16th and 17th centuries. This is, I think, Therefore I Am, served in part to sever the Western philosophical distinction between body and mind, a theme both Gaudio and Mirolla share in the continuous reunion, the recovery of the body in Western thought. They are poets of not just thought and philosophy and literature and history, but also of the very materiality of life. And, Shakespeare's Hamlet's famous soliloquy, to be or not to be, that is the question. It is really the fundamental question of our conscious existence. And Gaudio's I'll Be, the title of his novel, is a detailed exploration of subjectivities of who I am. Well, I'll be. He's really, in this book, it seems to me, he's exploring subjectivities, different versions of the self, different thought processes in one person, multiple angles, the big vast universal ideas, and what he's going to have for breakfast. So subjectivities or notions of the self, understandings of the self, as they are lived. We've got, the vast, God, he says God is more transparent. I made coffee, and a few hours later I had a bowl of cereal. So those vast kind of, universal signs, and and the trivia of daily life. So now I want to talk a little bit about the video I did of his reading. I had 2 cameras running, and so the changes in video effects are like visual piano notes that mark as natural breaks in the passages he read of the excerpt of his new novel in progress. I'll Be, with variations of the same visual piano notes throughout to help carry the reader through a longish reading. So, it'd be golden, black and white, maybe a little bit of grunge, and then, I'd mix them up. So I'd put black and white with grunge and grunge with golden. And so I kind of had a sequence of 3 or 4 notes that got played in different combinations, and it was aligned to the breath pause, the timbre of the voice, the moment when he stopped to take a breath. So it was very much aligned with the materiality of the writer's, body. So that was one aspect, and then because I had 2 cameras running, I decided, because his writing is about subjectivities, to keep both images in throughout. And so I was intrigued editing this way because, I found his excerpt to be very much about subjectivity. So the multiple angles and reflections worked visually as an accompaniment to the reading of the writing. And let's say that this book, Texas was really the interior monologue of a diplomat who's imprisoned in the Middle East, and we've got all the multinational, we've got all kinds of stuff. I'll Be is the interior monologue of a man who's living now here in this city in this time. And it's a very intimate portrait of the thought processes of the narrator. And it reminded me of Clarice Lispector's stream of life, in the jumble of thoughts, we've got, this transparent God, and then he says the book is about the search for a perfect tomato, and he goes to Paris, and he's partially serious. Clarice Lispector in Stream of Life was her last book, and she was dying of cancer. It is the closest to the bone writing I have ever read. She relates everything as they come into her thoughts, and she is also a marvelous poet. This tremendous poetic intensity and luminosity to her writing, but also the trivia of daily life. I'll be, seems to be at that kind of level for me. The video is also self-consciously art house style, with the accoutrements of videoing left in with the videoed subject who is shown in multiple images, sort of like the thought processors of the narrator of I'll Be, the big philosophical ideas, and that he likes yogurt, for instance. So we've got in the clip of the reading both the filmed and the filmer. My hand is in there sometimes, and the camera's in there, and kind of appear at the end, and so I didn't remove that. I didn't remove the witnessing eye of the camera or the videographer because I felt that was an interpretation or an empathy or was similar to the thinking, witnessing mind of the narrator in I'll Be, who is also the experiencer of the moments that he is describing or expressing. And I just also want to say about that narrator, it's in the tradition of the great Russian writers, Solzhenitsyn's, in The Day in the Life of, or Dostoevsky, The Underground Man. These are intense interior monologues that give you such an idea of a culture. We get Gaudio's narrator, who is also the character. He's in historical time. He's very much a product of his historical time. His economic status in the class structures is there. The wealth of his education is very evident. It's a life of a single male character in the 21st century in Toronto. And, it's very much of the European tradition. I don't find it so much Eastern or African. But it's a brilliant, I know I haven't read the whole book because he hasn't finished writing it, but it's pretty amazing. Okay, so in the video clip I'm going to show you, he's all of the themes that I've been discussing are up here. So take a look.
In a speaking without knowing, there is still the hint of form, the stench of the self. There are things I can't bury. I learned that in therapy. It is a good idea for the mind to find its body. That's how I know I'm not a hedgehog. The soul is of no help at all. After the fall, it hightailed it to China. Now it's a butterfly or an ox. But in the West, its absence is thriving. Empty is because it's unbreakable. As I walked up the stairs to my study, I knew all I had left to do was make sense of the buzzing, but I don't think I'll be able to finish. These words do not reference what is being said. They are, however, the words that are needed now. Yesterday I pulled down a star, hung it from the ceiling, and painted it silver, and then I painted over it, after which I made myself a sandwich. I swear it's still there, the star I mean, merely impossible, it need not be here to appear. The sandwich is just a detail to help me remember. What better than food to mark the insoluble? That's how I reason. I prefer eating to anything, and anything to people. I'm doing all I can to delay their arrival. My friends in particular, I don't answer the phone or the door in case they do or don't call respectively. I'm 7 feet tall in the story I'm telling, but that may not be the story you're reading.
Wasn't that? Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I invite you, if you're in Toronto, to please come to the next one, which is at the end of May. I think it's the 29th. We always have open mic. I don't know if I'll be doing video reviews, but I certainly will be doing written reviews. They will be published in newsforyou.net, NEWZ4, U as the letter U.net, so a local online Toronto newspaper. And the salons are at the beautiful Urban Gallery. And that is www.urbangallery.ca. Do visit the website. Do check us out. Thank you so much.